All right, so open up your textbooks to chapter 4 if you have not already done that, and let's look at what's here. Now, we have already talked about labeling syllables for tone, stressing the accents, and we also talked about how the Masoretes, when they put their accent marks down, they marked every stressed syllable, even the final ones, right? What were the names of the two sorts of accent marks that we've learned so far? Siluk. Everybody say that. Siluk.
Siluk.
Siluk. Oh, say it again. Siluk. Siluk. I'm going to make sure that you get used to saying these crazy words. So spelled S-I-L-L-U-K, right? Siluk. And what does it look like? Is it a double diamond or is it a short vertical line or stroke? It's the short vertical stroke. Okay? So it looks like that, right? And then the other thing is called sof pasuk. That's not an accent mark, but what does it mean? Or what does it do? It ends the verse, and this is a double diamond or a double dot that comes right after the final word of the verse, right? And anytime you have a sof pasuk, you will always have a siluk as well. Is the siluk an accent mark? Yes. So you will see a siluk where there is a stressed syllable when that stressed syllable is on the final word of the verse. Or, as the case may be, the final word of an exercise in Ross, right? He's going to use the sof pasuks to mark the end of a line of text that you have to translate. One of the other accents that we learned was called athnak. And we did talk about this, right? Yes, and it looks like that. That is another accent mark. So we want to keep our eyes open for those, but it's important to remember that siluk especially is a Masoretic accent mark. And it is always on, when you see it, the stressed syllable. Why is that important? Because in chapter 4, we are going to meet another symbol that looks just like the siluk. And unfortunately, it's not the same thing. Okay? It is called a methag. Methag. Okay? If I were transliterating this with fine transliteration skills, I'd put a little line under that because that is a tav with no dot in it. So it's a th sound, methag, okay? I'm not going to do that because it would just be too tedious. But the methag looks just like the siluk. It's a short vertical stroke. It's going to be right next to a vowel. What does the methag do? Well, here's something very important. It occurs before the tone. Okay? You've got to remember that. It occurs before the tone syllable. And what the methag is telling you is to not hurry over the vowel that has the methag in order to get to the tone syllable. There's a tendency in language to reduce a vowel if it's not the stressed vowel. Okay? Think about the word about in English. About. Okay, how do we spell about? I think we've talked about this, right? A-B-O-U-T. Where's the stress on that word? First or second syllable? Second. It's the second. So how do you pronounce the first syllable? You reduce it. It's a reduced sound. It's a reduced vowel sound. Okay? What you're doing is you're reducing the vowel in order to get to the stressed syllable. You would never pronounce it about, right? Or about. I don't know, so maybe some of you would say about, right? But this is about. And you never reduce your stressed vowel, right? You never say, hey, let me tell you about that. Right? You make sure that the stressed syllable is pronounced with the full vowel, and you tend to reduce the other ones in English. Okay? And Hebrew does a similar sort of thing. When you have syllables before the tone syllable, there's a tendency to reduce them, okay, when they're not stressed. And the metheg is saying, yo, stress me. No, not stress me, but pronounce me fully. Don't reduce me to nothing, okay? I'm like bling. I want people to notice me. Okay, so metheg is sort of like bling on a vowel. All right, and what we learned in the chapter are some places where metheg frequently occurs. So if you go to page 50, for example, you have this word, ha'adam. Okay, I'll write it down here in Hebrew. Ha'adam. And what I want you to notice here is that my stress is on which syllable? It's on the last one. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little accent mark, and I'll put it in parentheses because I don't put the accent mark on the final syllable, right? This is, what's that?
Because it's understood.
Because it's understood, exactly. But I'm putting it there just to draw your attention to the fact that this is the tone syllable, dam, okay? And so I have one syllable before, which is called the pretonic syllable, right? So I've got tonic, I've got pretonic, and then I have this propertonic syllable as well. Now, do you remember how I gave you a list of syllable rules? I told you, memorize the two, but there's two of the four, and then there's a fifth one down there that had the expression oops, ras, vocal, shema, right? And the oops part stands for originally open propertonic syllable, okay? And this is the situation. In Hebrew, a syllable that is open and then becomes propertonic has a tendency to reduce to a vocal shava. And so here I have ha-adam. Ha is open and it's propertonic. Normally, Hebrew would want to reduce that full vowel to just a vocal shava sound. And a metheg will be placed here by the Masoretes in order to encourage you, the reader, not to reduce that vowel sound. Don't hurry over it, reducing it so that you can get to the stress syllable. Okay? Now, metheg always occurs before the tone syllable. So if you know that the stress is on dam, and you see this little symbol right here, and I ask you, is that a saluk? What would your answer be?
No.
The answer is no, because a saluk is an accent mark, but you know the accent is not here. It's not ha, right? It's ha-adam. So if that vertical stroke is on the syllable that you know is not stressed, it's not saluk. It is metheg. Okay? So here's the $1,000 question. Will we ever see a metheg and a saluk all in the same word? Could you see that? Is that possible?
No.
Yes, it is. So let's assume that I had a verse that had Adam as the last word. I'd get my sof pasuk after Adam. I would have a saluk right there. And let's see, let me erase this, right? The saluk is going to be where? It's going to be over here, right? And this one is the metheg because it's on the syllable that's not stressed. It's before the stress, right? So you could potentially see a metheg and a saluk on the same word. But you should never confuse them, right? Because you know that the saluk is the only one that can be on the stressed syllable. Metheg is always somewhere before the stressed syllable. It's never on a stressed syllable. Okay? All right. Very good. So that's the situation here. If you look at the way Ross puts it, metheg accompanies kametz or sere when they are two syllables removed from the tone. Don't even worry about whether it's a kametz or a sere. Just remember that the Masoretes frequently put a metheg in a vowel or with a vowel when it's open and proprotonic, okay? To preserve the full pronunciation of it, because normally it would try to reduce. All right? Now, that's the first use. Now, here's something that I want to encourage you with. You might be going, okay, Dr. Marshall, I really have to remember when I have to put methegs in? The answer is no, you don't. What I'm really wanting you to get from this little section is I want you to understand why the methegs are already there in the Hebrew Bible, okay? This is really more an explanation of their presence. It's not so much to tell you, hey, look, I'm going to have you writing lots of Hebrew sentences and you need to know when you have to put one in. It's rather, oh, here's a metheg. I wonder why it's there. Oh, yeah, Ross told us. Methegs are here when this happens, okay? So, this is the first situation when the Masoretes would put a metheg in. They were not always consistent with this, by the way, but it happens frequently enough that we can generalize. Now, number two, the second reason a metheg might be used is to ensure correct reading. Okay, when you have a long vowel before a vocal shava. And so over here in our examples, and we're going to really spend a lot of time on this sort of stuff when we get to the next chapter. But look at these two words right here. Okay, we have two words that are spelled almost exactly the same, but they are different words. And the only thing that will distinguish them is the presence of this metheg right here next to the kametz symbol. Okay? Now, what's the difference here, and how does this help us? When I have ambiguities like this, because this little T symbol, right, the kametz / kametz ketuf, it could be either one of those, right? A kametz is what kind of a vowel? A long A. A kametz ketuf is a short O, right? And that's how we transliterate them. It could be either one. So when it's ambiguous like this, the metheg is telling me that I've got a long vowel here, okay? The metheg tells me it's a long A, and if it's a long A, then when I see that shava and I look to the right and I see that long A, because of the metheg telling me that, then I know that the shava is what? It's vocal. And so I have to pronounce this as ha-kama. Say that with me. Ha-kama. Ha-kama. And that means she is wise. Okay? Over here on the right, I have the same set of consonants and vowels, except I don't have a metheg next to that vowel under the chet. This is, the lack of the metheg is telling me that this is a short O. Okay? So here I have a kametz on the left. Here I have a kametz ketuf on the right, which is a short O. And if it's a short O, then the shava must be silent. Okay? And by the way, where would I divide the syllable here with that short, that silent shava? To the left of it, right? Over here, if my shava is vocal, I have to divide to the right. Okay? So it's ha, kama. Over here, though, it's pronounced how? It's not ha. That's a short O. Ho, ma. And remember, don't pronounce the shava. Hok, ma. Hok, ma. Say that to me. Hok, ma. Okay, the accent's on the ma, right? On both. Hakama and hok, ma. And this is the noun wisdom. They're related, right? They're both related words, but they're not the same word. One's a verb, one is a noun. Okay? So metheg will help us disambiguate long vowels from short vowels when they are ambiguous. Okay, let's take a look real quickly at this other example, and we'll keep them in the same order as what we had the first two here. Let's take this word. Well, let me do this. All right. So what I have here in this first form is a yod at the beginning. Is that a consonant or a vowel right there, that first yod? It's a consonant, right? How do you know that that yod is not a vowel? Because it's at the beginning of a word, which means it's at the beginning of the syllable, right? And vowels don't start syllables unless it's shurik, right? Which we saw. Okay, so this first yod is a consonant, and the consonant has to have a vowel with it, right? And so there's a kirik under it. What about the yod over here, the second yod? Is that a consonant yod or a vowel marking yod? That is a vowel marking yod. How do I know that? Because, yes, there's no vowel or shava under the second yod here, right? And our rule is, with every Hebrew word, every consonant needs what? A vowel or a shava symbol with it, unless it's the final consonant, right? So this, the vowel is kirik yod, okay? So how am I going to vocalize this shava here? If I look to the right, I am looking at what kind of a syllable, a vowel, a long or a short one? It's long. Yea, verily, yea, it's historically long, right? So if that's long, the shava is vocal. So how am I going to pronounce this word? Yi-ra-u. Yi-ra-u. And it means they are afraid. Okay? Now, do you remember that with historically long vowels like kirik yod, sometimes I could see a historically long vowel written without the mater? What do we call it when a historically long vowel is written without the mater? It's called defective spelling, okay? So sometimes a kirik in Hebrew is going to show up in places where normally I'd have a kirik yod, and that kirik stands for a defectively spelled long, historically long vowel, okay? And that's the situation I have here. Take a look at that word. I have a yod with a kirik and a resh with a shava. Under normal circumstances, you look at that and you look to the right and you go, that's a kirik, that's short or long? Kirik is short, and then you would assume that your shava is silent, right? And so you would pronounce that as yir-u, right? Whereas this one was yira-u. But if you made that assumption, you would be wrong. And the metheg is here to tell you that you were wrong. The metheg is telling you, look, I know that looks like a short kirik, but it's really a long kirik. You're like, wait a minute, kiriks aren't long in my vowel chart. You're right. This is a defectively spelled kirik yod that is only showing up as a kirik. And this is telling you you've got to treat this as a long vowel. Tong. Why did tong show up? We don't want tong. We want long. Okay. So, yeah, Tony. Okay, so this is long, which means my shava really is vocal. And I'm going to pronounce this like I pronounced this one. They are the same word. It's just that this one is defectively spelled. Its mater yod is missing. Yi-ra-u. Yi-ra-u. Okay? So they both mean the same thing. They are afraid. On the other hand, if I have this word like this, which is spelled almost identically, except I have a kirik with no metheg right here, guess what? That really is the short kirik, and my shava is silent, and so I really can divide where I expect it to. Over here, I've got to divide after the long kirik, which stands for a kirik yod, and before the vocal shava. Okay? So this is pronounced yir-u. Yir-u. This is a completely different verb. It means they see. That's a lot different than they are afraid, right? So, now, of course, from the standpoint of you guys, you didn't know these words, and so you wouldn't know that this middle form is actually a defectively spelled word, right? Because to know something's defectively spelled, you have to know that there's a full spelling for it, okay? So I don't want you to worry or obsess over this. Again, my point is just to say the presence of metheg is there to help us disambiguate when it could be ambiguous. And you won't know when there's ambiguity until you learn a little more Hebrew, okay? So that will come. Don't worry about that, all right? We're going to use this a lot, though, when we get to the next chapter, because our big question is, how can I tell when I have a kametz versus a kametz ketuf, right? And so we'll spend a lot more time next chapter, but we're just introducing you to the basics here. Okay, now the third place that you might see a metheg is when you have a compound shava, okay? So let's take the word for Jacob, first of all, okay? And it looks like this. So this is Jacob. So do you see a compound shava on that word? Yeah, it's under the, what's that consonant called? Ayin. Good. And methegs can occur before a compound shava. So with the vowel right before, I could see a metheg in Hebrew. Okay? So methegs can occur before compound shavas. You obviously would never mistake that pathak for a long vowel, right? Because you know pathaks are short. And there's no such thing as a defectively spelled pathak, because pathak doesn't occur with any maters. Okay? So this metheg here is not present to disambiguate anything. It's just a matter of fact. Masoretes frequently put methegs before compound shavas. Okay? Now, the other word is the word for priests. And I want you to just notice one thing. Okay? And that is, when you have a metheg, it normally goes, as we've been seeing, it normally goes right beside the vowel, to the left of it, right? So, I've got the word for priest, kohanim. I have a compound shava here under the hay. So should I put my metheg to the left of the holum that's right there, up and to the left of the consonant? No. Just like our accent mark. Remember how when we put accent marks over a syllable that has a vowel, normally our vowel is right under the consonant and the accent mark would go right above the consonant, and so it all lines up, right? But if we happen to have a vowel written to the left, like the holum or the shurik, the accent mark still goes over the consonant whose vowel is stressed, right? It doesn't go over the vowel. And this is true with metheg as well, okay? The metheg is going to go under the consonant whose vowel is supposed to take the metheg. So we will not see methegs hanging out above the above the line over here with a holum, okay? So don't look for it there. So that is a metheg you're looking at there, okay?
Is that the same with the siluk? If we had a siluk, does it go on?
Exactly, same with the siluk, okay? Yep. So that's, and remember, your stress is on the end anyway here, right?
Yeah.
So kohanim, so you know that's got to be a metheg there.
Yeah.
It goes before the compound shava. All right, real quickly, we have the makaf written here. What is a makaf? A makaf is a horizontal line that is used to, you might, I was going to say divide, but it's used to connect two words together. So I have the preposition el here, for example, that means to or toward. And then I have the word for God, Elohim, okay? And here's what's important about this little symbol. When you see a makaf, and by the way, let's say this together because we're gonna get used to saying it. M-A-Q-Q-E-P with a f sound, makaf. Everybody say that, makaf.
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 Okay, it sort of looks like a hyphen, doesn't it? But it's not a hyphen. And when you are hyphenating things in English, you put your hyphen sort of low, right? So like down, low. The McCafe is going to be written sort of along the imaginary top line of my typical Hebrew consonant. So put it up higher. It doesn't go above the line like the Lamed's line here does, but it does go parallel with that imaginary invisible top line. Okay? When you transliterate it, your transliteration will use an English hyphen, and you'll put that English hyphen where you normally put it. But don't put the McCafe there. It's not so low. Okay? If you put the McCafe down here, it looks really funny to somebody who knows Hebrew. It almost looks like you're wearing different colored shoes or something. Okay? That's just not, it's not cool. You're like, but Dr. Marshall, wearing different colored shoes is cool. What's wrong with you? Yes, I've never been known for coolness. So, okay, but here's the really important thing. Not just how you write it, but what's important is that whenever you have a McCafe, the first word before the McCafe loses its stress. Okay, if you have a McCafe, that word has lost its stress. You're going to sound out the whole expression as if it were one long word, but the first part of the word is going to be unstressed. Okay? So let's think about dividing this into syllables. If I said, hey, divide El Elohim into syllables, you can do it. What do you have to know? Well, one of the things you have to know is that anytime you have a McCafe, it's part of the word in terms of how you pronounce it. We're going to treat it as all one big long syllabic unit. I'm going to put a dividing line right through the McCafe. Always divide the words that the McCafe joins. Okay? And that means that L is open or closed. Which is it? It's closed. Good. And notice I have a compound shava, so am I going to divide to the left of it? No. I always divide to the right of it, and I've already got a dividing line. I go to the next consonant with its full vowel, and I will divide there, right? And then the hey has its vowel, kirik yod, and the end. So elo, is that open or closed? Open, good. And then him is closed. Now where is my tone? It's on the last syllable. So him is tonic, elo is pre-tonic, and guess what? L is propertonic. I'm counting this all as one long word, so count it in your syllable counting. Okay? McCafe joins the words together so closely that you're going to treat it like it's one long word. All right? Okay, good. That's really all we need to say about that. Well, we'll stop there because we are technically out of time. I kept saying that next chapter we're going to talk about Kametz Ketuf, but it's really this chapter. Let me just tell you one thing, okay? This will really solve most of your problems. If you have a Kametz or a Kametz Ketuf and you want to know which it is, there's really one big question you have to ask. Is it in a cuss syllable? Is it in a closed unaccented syllable? If it is, closed unaccented syllables require what? A short vowel. Which one's short, the Kametz or the Kametz Ketuf? The Kametz Ketuf. So if you ever find a symbol that looks like a Kametz in a cuss syllable, a closed unaccented syllable, then it's going to be Kametz Ketuf, right? If the answer is yes, it's Kametz Ketuf. Everywhere else, it's Kametz. Okay, that's the bottom line. But we'll go through examples and I'll show you how easy it is. You're going, I don't believe you. It's true. It's easy. All right, have a great weekend.